You know, Bob, going back to the year that I was elected, I give a great deal of credit to I think, one of the great presidents of the Scranton School Board, John Brazil, who had for an entire year to face the public in the city of Scranton who were so much opposed to the building of the new Scranton High School. Mm-hmm. And his team of directors, Todd Hartman and Mary Kay Del Rosso and Gary DeBillio and John, they all lost. Yeah. And they were prepared, and I remember talking to John about that, but the discourse from the public and the anger of the public at those directors reminds me a little bit of what our congressman faced in the healthcare debate.
We actually had one meeting at South Scranton Junior High where a gentleman had brought a firearm to the meeting. And thankfully one of the administrators had noticed, and we had a patrolman there, which we have at all our meetings, and he was wise enough to politely escort the man out and disarm him. But, you know, that was a reality check that night. Yeah, we were going through a very difficult time. People were very passionate about taxes, and, you know, the board was very passionate at that time about building the high school. You know, our population was growing. We had a senior class at that time, I believe, of 454 students graduating out of Scranton High, which you know yourself.
It was way too small for that size class.
You know, and John Brazil really had taken, you know, matters into his own hands, and I really admire John for the things he did. You know, he taught us as a board that, you know, as a chairman, he said, you know, let the people voice their opinion through me. He said, rather than have helter-skelter out there and all of us trying to answer same questions, he said, you know, let's keep it through the chair, and if I feel that there's a need to pass it on to a director, I'll do so.
And that was great. That was great advice. But John also had, that board was a united board.
Oh, absolutely.
It really was a united board, and it was united at a time that it was so easy to split off. He was somebody that truly understood the need to bring people together.
John was a great communicator. I can remember many times John calling me and other board members prior to the meeting. We would get our weekly packet and we would go over it and discuss it. And you know, if it wasn't going to be an issue that was going to be popular, or if it wasn't going to fly, it just never came to the, you know, to the board. But again, John was very persuasive at times, but the true thing was communication.
You know, the funny thing too is when Sue Pat and I got elected, we got elected with 3 members of the public that ran as the people's team, whose sole goal and their promise to the public was, we will stop that school. Right. And they made that commitment, and the first several meetings were very rocky.
Yes.
I mean, there was a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety, a lot of back and forth. But, you know, at the end of 4 years, when Bob Marino left that board, he became one of my best friends.
Right.
I grew to admire Peg Parris's commitment to the kids and to the community. I grew to admire Jimmy Minacosi's enthusiasm. And I think when we get to know each other, it's so much easier to work
together. That's the
key.
And the key, I believe, Todd, was there was good communication on that board. And I think when we encompassed them into the school project, they seen themselves also as, you know, I'm here to watch for the taxpayer dollar. So I want to be very much involved in this process. So there was a mutual guide for all of us. You know, our passion, you know, their consideration for all of our consideration for the taxpayer. And they just wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And you know, unfortunately, the most contentious situations we have on the board are always involving hiring. Never ceases to amaze me, but we fight like cats and dogs about getting one person or another hired. And we have one of the best hiring programs in the United States of America. Bill, You know the person that hiring program was named after. He was the president of Catholic University.
It was the Walton plan from the 1950s. He was a former school board director, and I can't recall his first name offhand. I'm not sure if it was Dr. Walton, but he developed a plan whereby the selection process is kind of taken out of the hands of the school board and put into the hands of the professionals that are hired to run the school district. Like, for instance, the superintendent, administrators, teachers serve on these panels. And they developed a point system where they can earn up to 500 points for their interview and another 500 points based on their credentials in terms of their praxis scores, their resume, how they scored academically, their GPAs, and we do give some points if they live in the city of Scranton, which I think is appropriate. And if you're a veteran, with the total score of 1,000 points, and then after the interviews, they're ranked, and then we hire from that list.
And that's something that's not done virtually anywhere else that I know of.
No.
And it's been a program that's been looked at by educators all over across America and pointed to as a great program. But what we do fight about is janitors and secretaries.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I always had a philosophy that was one way, and others had a philosophy that was the other way. But it's just, you know, where you're coming from on that particular evening.
Well,
and you as president have the tough job of trying to bring knuckleheads like me and others together. And I have great confidence in your ability to do that, Bob, because I saw your work before.
I was a knucklehead too at times. But, you know, it is, even though it might be a janitor or a clerk or, you know, a teacher's aide, the passion is there because, you know, our job just didn't stop in that boardroom. You would see people on the street, I would see people on the street, and, you know, just coming here today, I ran into 2 people. You know, it's just that way. And the way the economy is today, everyone's looking for a job. And, you know, you hate to say no. And you know, you tell people, we'll go down, put an application in. And, you know, it's very hard when you have 9 people, you know, and everybody's being, you know, in the same direction. You know, people are saying the same thing. We all need a job.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes it very hard.
When we come back, I want to talk to you, Mr. Superintendent, about all of the great things that are going to be taking place in the near future in the Scranton School District.
That'd be great.
We just had a tour, and unfortunately I was out of town and missed it, of the new Whittier School. Yeah. I look forward to getting over there and seeing
Beautiful.
it. But the new school named after, is it Ira Tripp?
Yes.
Isaac Tripp, yep. That I can't wait to see. That was one of the last things that I had anything to do with, because I was there when we selected the site and started to put the plans together. And I want to talk about our test scores and so many other great things that the Scranton School District is doing. So please stay tuned to this very important segment of You Be the Judge.